Hey everybody, welcome back. It is December 2nd. You are watching the Wake Up Workday morning show with me, Tony Gilfillan. Yesterday we were doing some stuff with Flowwise, and today I kind of wanted to started talking about continuous integration, continuous development with these agents. So, while we're building this stuff out, we're building, other integrations to other platforms besides Workday, using the Flowwise integrations, and I really want to showcase how to make it a little bit easier and quicker to build these external bots and kind of host them in a little staging ground before they're in a significant other hosting platform that's going to cost a lot more money to get those hosting services month to month on a kind of an elastic idea. So what we're going to do is kind of show how to spin up a little bot, put it out on a free instance, and be able to call it with our Flowwise. So let's go ahead and jump over to it. So what I have been piddling with this morning is I'm actually spinning up a Slack bot for us to be able to play with, and I'm trying to do it with just coding agents. So, oh, I that capture's working. Okay, perfect. Anyways, so essentially I told my Claude agent here to create me a Slack bot. What it did was spin up pretty rudimentary Node.js application. Take a look at the code itself. About 159 lines, running on this Bolt framework that Slack provides. And it has a couple different endpoints, and then it uses Slack tokens from their development site. So what essentially I'm going to be doing here is pushing out a Slack app onto OnRender, which is the hosting platform that I'll be using today, and then we will then call that hosted platform using our Flowwise, and then this agent, the Claude agent or whichever agent you're using, should be able to essentially kind of automate all this pushing changes out when we're prompting and making changes to our local instance, and then we can push it out and it'll build and be able to show you that bot pretty much quick instantaneously when it pushes out to your GitHub. So first off, I'm using Visual Code here. You can use Cursor or any of your other IDEs that have agents built into them. And then I have it tied to my GitHub instance, which will be hosting my Slack bot that I had built here. And then the OnRender will be the actual hosting platform that will be hosting web service. So OnRender, if you're not familiar, again, it's just a very simple hosting platform. It has a bunch of different levels, all the way up to like professional enterprise level hosting. But I use just the free node hosting for a lot of my little side projects here. All you got to do is go and sign up. There's no cost to OnRender until you actually get into the paid for hosting piece of it. So I have dashboard here. So I created Slackbot web service for me right here. So this is tied to a GitHub instance, which I will also share this out on the video description. Again, this is just a very simple Slack bot that Claude created for me. I'm going to try to not mess with the code myself. I'm going to try and vibe code this thing using just Claude. So it looks like what it did here is anytime a hello message is put into a channel, it's going to respond back. Also going to respond to a slash command, and any mentions of the app. So app mention in Slack, it should respond as well. This is app home open. Navigate to an app within Slack and then open the home page. It should also, whatever this, basically posting a message that rest of these are as well, just responding with message context with guy keys unauthorized. So this should work, I think. I mean, all it's really doing is utilizing some environment variables, pulling in that Bolt framework, web APIs, Slack's web service package. So we'll see if we can get this actually functioning. So let's put this out into our free Slack instance, and then we'll try to tie it into Flowwise. I'm going to pull up my Slack here. And we're going to also install this API. Slack.com is where my applet and install it. Github is all good. Slack instance also running on a free version of Slack. Actual Slack app. So here's the actual repository. It has an environment variable example for you, all the ignores for all the git pushes, README file. This is the application itself that we just looked over. You need to make sure that these environment variables are either in an environment variable file or in specified within on render. So render actually has some environment variables that you can specify. Well, you can create. I think it creates an environment variable for you in the background. Last push did not build properly. Have to why that happened. Is pretty good logging on render. If you're using this as a hosting platform, it can see application logs as well as build logs. Build this more. Just error code here. I think it's attempting socket mode. That Steve needs. The socket mode, if you guys aren't familiar with socket mode in pretty much any application development, it basically removes the need for a handshake authentication. It kind of creates an open tunnel between you and your integration. So there's really no need for additional authentication once socket mode. It is very secure and a good way to handle apt communication, but a lot quicker to socket mode. I edit. Just throw this into Claude and see. Specify a port environment variable. Actually, it should be using 3000. Doesn't even find a port in the environment variable. Or the other, it should be. See if it. So now Claude test to see if it can actually hit web service. I think it's attempting to test locally. I want it to test the hosted version. One. Liberty Gibbity. Node.js is not available in the current environment. Shell script. Where I feel like these coding agents kind of lacking. Doesn't have context into your actual hosting environment, so it doesn't really realize what state everything's in. Like if it could tell the application logs from your hosting environment, it'd be able to disseminate all those logs and make a informed decision. But going off of what local files you have. Test. I'm just gonna give it my actual render URL. App is hosted. Hoping if I give it some context around the actual URL, it should be able to test it out where it's being hosted. I don't want to test this bot locally. Health. But I just want the loading page for any on render service that falls asleep. So if you do a free instance on this platform, it'll fall asleep after 5 minutes, but any call to the service will wake it up. It references any of the methods in here. It's all just app constant built black bolt package creates off of new app object based on these tokens, assign on secret. Oh, socket mode true. That's well, we found it before you, Claude. Said about 2 minutes ago I wasn't going to do this. But I am going to do this. Get rid of it. Okay. Update. Matter if we push these test shells out there. Push and commit. I don't really know why it's not grabbing these latest changes. The GitHub is showing a previous version. Sure. That's based on that commit. I got that wasn't. I go to the root project. I bet it's. It was correct. Why is another deploy? But I mean, the big power of having this agent hooked up to this, essentially, once render knows what your GitHub repository is, then whenever a commit comes into that GitHub, then a build on your hosting platform can be kicked off automatically and deployed automatically as well. Obviously, in a production environment, you don't want any commit to just happen and then push out. But when you're, in this development setting, you want things to get pushed out and tested as quickly as possible. So kind of automates all of that when you connect it all together. So you have your hosting platform that has everything that's real and live out there, and then underneath that is your GitHub repository that's tied to that. So any commits that go into your GitHub get pushed out to your hosting platform, and then your Claude or Cursor or whatever you're using to build these Slack apps via agent can then tie directly to those Git repositories in an agentic way. So you're like, push this out and commit it, and the entire automation cycle goes through, and you can continue building your app or bot or integration, whatever you're working on. Sometimes Claude doesn't really have a problem. It delve a little deeper. Building builds. Try this. Wanted again to test actual app out on my hosting platform. It did say it successfully. Might be jumping the gun on testing. I don't know why it deploys so slowly. It is just a little Node.js app, tiny. But effectively, what I was trying to get this bot to do, and what we'll look at again tomorrow when we get this all deployed, essentially we can use slash commands or messages within our bot to then call our agent to then go back into Workday. So then we can start using orchestrate business objects and all kinds of fun stuff on the Workday side of things, to use this bot to get information out of Workday in an agentic way, so we can just kind of talk to our bot and then it can pull information back for us, being like, what is my team's current calendar for requesting time off? Can I request time off for the next month? That kind of thing, and then it should be able to, essentially just call HTTP requests to orchestrate or an integration, um, anything like that, to be able to pull stuff back to our Slack app. So then we can create a couple business objects to call those to pull those directly in. We can use orchestrate to use those HTTP requests to do manipulation with that data, and then we can make it more meaningful when it comes back to the Slack app. Right now we just need to get our Slack bot functioning. Just want essentially hello commands to be able to tell it, so you can essentially talk to your Slack app. Posting it out on render. That will always be the case, and then render will call either Flowise or our orchestrations directly. We'll probably start with orchestrations. That's a very simple way to just call an API directly. But then we'll get it more complicated and make it a full-on agent experience. See, I don't see what this health thing is. So it's attempting to do slash health. Doing it here too, but it doesn't seem to return anything. I don't really know what Claude thinks it knows that I don't. Or the URL is definitely up. Seems to be in like a application loading loop. Check the Oh, that's fun. I might be having some VPN issues. I don't know if I'm even connected anymore, to be honest. Hopefully I am. Just see if I'm even connected to the internet. Right. I seem to be having some technical difficulties. I will resolve those and attempt to fix this building problem. And then we'll have a bot that we can actually talk to. But that is where we will pick up tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.